Congressman, on the debt ceiling, I want to ask you about what many Democrats are saying. Let's do a clean increase in the debt ceiling. Republicans want spending cuts equivalent to the increase in the debt ceiling. Why are you proposing getting rid of the debt ceiling altogether?
Well, because the debt ceiling a requirement to pass the debt ceiling is legislatively based. It's not constitutionally based, and it's unnecessary. It was a political tactic that benefited some at the time that it was passed, but now it may benefit a few politicians, but it's to the detriment of the nation, and so therefore it's time to do away with the entire process of legislatively raising the debt ceiling. When you think about it, when you go out and put something on your credit card and you get the bill at the end of the month, you don't have to ask your wife or ask anybody whether or not you should pay the bill. You just go ahead and pay the bill because you've already spent the money. That's what the debt ceiling issue is all about. It's that simple. And so this is monies that we owe based on spending that was authorized by Congress. And so there's no need to get any authority to pay those bills.
Now, this is a island that at its widest level is, 12 miles from shore to shore, and at its smallest level, or smallest location, it's 7 miles between one shore and the other. Is that correct?
I don't have the exact dimensions, but to your point, sir, I think Guam is a small island.
Very small island, and about 24 miles, if I recall, long. So 24 miles long, about 7 miles wide at the least widest place on the island, and about 12 miles wide on the widest part of the island. And I don't know how many square miles that is. Do you happen to know?
I don't have that figure with me, sir. I can certainly supply it to you if you'd like.
Yeah, my fear is that the whole island will become so overly populated that it will tip over and capsize.
We don't anticipate that. The Guam population, I think, currently about 175,000, and again, with 8,000 Marines and their families, it's an addition.
I'm going to round up the most cantankerous, most vicious, bloodthirsty, fire-breathing, meanest, dead-burn fighting bull that the devil ever created.
Good evening. Tonight, we're going to take a hard, tough, abrasive look at camel spotting. Hello.
Hello, Peter.
Now, tell me, what exactly are you doing?
Well, I'm camel spotting. I'm spotting to see if there are any camels that I can spot and put them down in my camel spotting book.
Good. And how many camels have you spotted so far?
Well, so far, Peter, up to the present moment, I've spotted nearly one.
A sad story is about to begin.
It's time for Fully Threaded Radio.
It is Fully Threaded Radio, voice of the FCH Sourcing Network. This is online, on-demand Fastener Talk Radio, and we're coming to you from our online Fastener Hacienda in the heart of Fastener Country. And that's east of the Pecos, by the way. Hi again, everyone. Eric Dudas here. And I'm joined by Fastener Ranch Hand Extraordinaire, the amazing Mr. Brian Musker. How's the Fastener rustling going over there, amigo?
It's doing all right. There's a lot of things to catch up with.
Yeah, it's a lot of doggies to be roped.
Yeah, that's true.
Now, you grew up on an actual ranch in New Zealand, didn't you?
That is true.
And was it anything like the Ponderosa?
No, of course, we don't have ranches in New Zealand. They're farms, okay? And, of course, like many New Zealanders, I grew up on a sheep farm. 3 million people, 80 million sheep. And so, yeah, I grew until I was about 16. I was on a farm.
Well, I'm going to resist the urge to break out a few sheep herding jokes right now because, frankly, it just doesn't fit the theme. But
this is true. And we've got J.R. Prowl is enough for that. Thank you very much. And we did sit down in the evenings on our farm and watch Bonanza.
What, did they carry that over the BBC?
No, we had one single TV station in the whole of New Zealand, and so it was black and white, of course. But it was an interesting view of American sort of farmsteading, I guess, in the 1860s or so, 70s.
And highly accurate, I might add.
Of course.
Well, you might be wondering where the whole Bonanza theme is coming from, and you'll understand that when you hear the feature segment on today's show, which is episode 57. We're publishing on January 24th, 2013. Dan Zehnder is back with his second installment of the Legends of the Fastener Industry series. This time he talks with the tireless Mr. Ed McIlhon. From his humble beginnings cleaning square bolts in his dad's warehouse to his current position as owner of the family-run Assembled Products, Ed shares his story and his philosophy on business and life during this conversation, and it's one not to be missed. Also, Mike McNulty has the Fastener News Report with top industry headlines for us today. He speaks with Tim Busching also. He's the Vice President of Marketing for the Elgin Fastener Group on this edition. And Mike wraps up today with a bittersweet back page report. And in just a few moments, we'll lead it all off with a visit from Paul Cabot of New Hampshire-based Main Source. And we'll hear about how things have started off in the new year in his neck of the woods. We're proud to say the title sponsors on this edition of Fully Threaded Radio are Stellfast. For service you deserve and people you trust, it's Stellfast. And Beacon Fasteners and Components. Check out their line of machine screws. Beacon Fasteners. Nice threads. We're also sponsored by Trinity Hardware Headquarters, Fastenal, Volt Industrial Plastics, and Fastener Technology International. And we thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today, everyone. We really do appreciate it. And we'll mosey on down the Fastener Trail right after this.
It's a screwy world out there, what with outsourcing, celebrity apprentices, crop circles, beavers, gargers, those shorts that are almost pants, and mimes. But when you think about it, saying the world is screwy is just unfair to screws, which ironically are what hold the whole world together. And the finest screws out there are supplied by Beacon Fasteners and Components. We can say that because our products are laboratory tested. Twice. Beacon Fasteners and Components also has the largest inventory in the industry, including thread forming, thread cutting, high-low tapping, SEMS, sheet metal, and our new machine screws. And they're all available RoHS compliant. Give Beacon a call today and one of our knowledgeable sales staff will guide you through the ordering process. Then we'll track your shipment, which is one less screwy little detail for you to worry about. Visit us at beaconfasteners.com. It's a screwy world, but Beacon is on top of it.
Looking for package fasteners of all kinds? How about specials or unique parts that no one seems to carry? At Trinity Hardware Headquarters, we believe in parts done right, and our new catalogue is available online at trinityhardwarehq.com. Featuring over 30,000 different types of fasteners available in package quantities, product kits, and assortments, including hundreds of hard-to-find parts as well as the most popular inch and metric sizes. Trinity Hardware Headquarters has locations throughout the Midwest and South and over 400,000 square feet of warehouse space with 18 million pounds of fasteners ready to fill your requirements. Our featured products include number 3 and number 7 head plough bolts, grade 5 and grade 8 carriage bolts, hook bolts, tap bolts, and nuts and washers of all kinds, plus much more. Visit our website at www.trinityhardwarehq.com or give Trinity Hardware Headquarters a call at 888-232-1010. Trinity Hardware Headquarters, for parts done right.
When top quality and outstanding service are at the top of your list in fastener suppliers, turn to Stellfast. Since 1976, Stellfast has grown to become an industry-leading importer and manufacturer of the highest quality industrial fasteners, specialty items, and automotive parts. Our array of facilities across North America and in Asia, along with full quality control labs and ISO 9001-2008 certifications, ensure the highest quality parts, and at Stellfast, they're delivered with undisputed service excellence. We're family-run and dedicated to your success. Our customers have come to depend on the expertise of our staff and the quality of our products. We also offer a wide range of secondary services to meet some of the toughest requirements you might have. Contact Stellfast today through our website at www.stellfast.com and put us to work for you. Stellfast. Service you deserve, people you trust.
Hi, this is Jackie with Stellfast in Chicago. You're listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
Brian and Eric back with you for the next hour and some, doing our best to help you bring out that inner Bruce Darling inside you.
I hope Bruce is listening.
I don't know if he does or not. He's actually out there in Nevada, not too far away from where the actual Ponderosa was, though, you know?
That's right. A little bit north, I think, but yeah.
I don't think he spends his time rustling up any dogies these days, though.
No.
Of course, if he does, he can always email us, as can you, at the email address ftr@fullythreaded.com. Be very glad to hear from you. We're also out there on Twitter, so don't hesitate. The handle there is Fully Threaded. And check out the Facebook page for Fully Threaded Radio. We usually put some follow-up links and supporting links to the show. And if we've pilfered anything, we try to make note of it there, so don't miss it.
Of course.
You know, Brian, we received several comments from the last episode about 3D printing, which Andy Pells brought up during our panel discussion. And there's so much going on in that area. And I'm very sure that 3D printing, or additive manufacturing as it's now being called, I think it's going to impact the fastener industry in a number of ways in the not too distant future.
Right, and you know, it's I was reading an article that came through the BBC, but it was about some architect who's designed a complete building that is going to be built by this mechanism. Now, I have no idea how you actually process something as large as a building, but they've worked out how to do it apparently. So it can go from the small to the huge.
That is amazing. I didn't hear about that one. I mean, at this point, I'm still taken aback by all of the complex things that they can bust out of these replicators, as they're calling them. I mean, multi-material objects, different things with, albeit somewhat simplistic, but really impressive mechanical capabilities. I mean, I'm talking right out of the printer.
I know. I have no idea how they do it, but I've seen an item that was built in one of these 3D printers that had components inside it and a spring, you know, had some movement to it. It is truly staggering, actually.
Well, I'm beginning to learn a lot more about it, and we're going to be talking about it, I have no doubt, on future Fully Threaded episodes. And folks, if you're not paying attention to 3D printing yet, I suggest you take a look out there. It doesn't take much to do a Google search, and what's happening is really revolutionary. I know it's going to affect our industry.
Yes, in a big way, I think, actually.
And, you know, speaking of printers, Bri, I've got this beautiful color printer sitting here. It's a Canon, and rarely ever print anything other than Word documents, black and white. So my question is, why am I always running out of magenta?
Probably because Canon makes a lot of money out of magenta ink cartridges, I would think. I mean, that the whole business model of all printers is that the printers very, very cheap, and they make all their money on the cartridges.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's the whole razor blade razor thing.
Right.
I guess seeing that these 3D printers are coming down to about $2,000 now, it's kind of the same thing. I mean, imagine if you were trying to print out some kind of maybe a stainless cap screw or something like that. You'd probably wind up spending $50 in material at this point for a $3 part.
Right. Well, we don't really know, but it's sure that'll be someone's going to make money out of it somehow. It's got to be the medium they use.
Right. Well, again, we're going to keep reading up on this, and I'm just at the very beginning of understanding about it. But now let's talk about a technology we can understand, and that's fastenersclearinghouse.com. Yes, the FCH sourcing network, everyone. That's where Brian and I butter our bread, and we hope you're all out there using it. It's a sourcing network for the fastener industry. There's something around 900,000 line items out there at this point. You're always welcome at no charge to search and source, and of course, we'd be thrilled to have you listing your inventory out there, and our mission is to drive sales your way. So you're always tweaking that, Brian, and we've been teasing a little bit of mobile capability. And you've got something of an announcement at this point, don't you?
Oh, do I? Okay. Yes.
You do now.
Right, I do now. Thank you. Yes, we have been doing a lot of work preparing a mobile website to go with Fasteners Clearinghouse. It's in beta. It's not early beta. It's in beta. And we've had a couple of companies, John Butler at Carnell Sales and Anastasia Pike at Midwest Fastener Supply have been testing it for us. It has a little bit of functionality that is not available on our main website. I should say it's aimed specifically at FCH members and has the ability for you to nominate whether you want to be alerted via text message on your phone when you get an inquiry or a source finder. And you can reply to them on your phone, and should run pretty well on an iPhone or an Android device. Andy Pels did the early testing on that. And in association with that, we have also done a lot of work in trying to come up with much better results for searching for brand name parts. And we've had Matt Malkey from Military and Commercial and Gina Paolo from Monterey Bay Fasteners giving me some advice on how I can improve that. And that's built into the mobile website.
So improvements on many fronts. Now, I'm guessing that a lot of FCH members are going to want to jump on this one right away, and that is getting their inventory and source finder inquiries texted to them. That seems like a really good thing. Now, how do they actually go about activating that in their account?
Well, if you're interested in becoming familiar with our little mobile app, just contact us and we'll set you up on it. And from there you can set your preferences for text messages and have a look at the site. We welcome advice. We think this is clearly going to be quite an important part of our site. It's never going to replace our full site.
Don't be so sure.
No. It seems to me that some things don't suit well on a small, screen. However, if you are interested in really dealing with source finders correctly, then you certainly know instantly that someone's just sent you an email. And it's possible that people have, suggested that they should also be able to opt to not even have emails. They can have text only. This is up for people to suggest, okay?
Well, it's all part of the beta program, and you can get with us in a variety of ways. Of course, at the site www.fastenersclearinghouse.com, there's a Contact Us button, or you can send it directly to me at eric@fastenersclearinghouse.com. Be glad to take care of you any way we can. Good stuff, Bri. You know, Bri, it's hard to believe we're already winding down January, the first month of 2013. And so far, for the most part, I would say that the guys that we're talking to have experienced a pretty good start.
It seems that way, and if you looked at our index, even it looked like it started quietly rising from November to December. We hope it continues to.
Right, FCH is looking pretty strong right now. You know, joining us now, I've got a guy who I've talked to off and on over the years, and he's always seemed to be kind of in growth mode, and he's Paul Cabot of Main Source. They're out there in New Hampshire. Hey, Paul, how you doing?
I'm doing okay. I'm surviving the flu that's inundated this eastern New England area, but I'm recovering.
Okay, we'll keep well, and we need well fastener companies, okay?
Yep.
Now, offsetting the flu, what have you seen in January? I'm guessing you're going to say it was not too bad for you either.
It's actually been pretty decent. December was very disappointing, but I think everybody was waiting for the cliff to fall and holding off on buying or doing anything. Plus, you had Christmas and New Year's all in there, so everybody was sort of on vacation mode. January's actually started off fairly decent for us. We're setting our goals at about between a 20 and 30% growth over last year, and so far we're pretty much on track.
Wow, I think anybody would be happy to get that type of growth. Now, tell us a little bit about Main Source, Paul. How long have you been in the business, and what's your main market?
Well, Main Source is a small distributor in Nashua, New Hampshire. Our primary customers are OEMs, either in computer or military subcontracting, as well as pretty much anything that requires fasteners.
Okay.
I've been in the fastener business, God, I hate to say, probably over 30 years. Started out with a distributor that was originally in downtown Boston. It was probably the oldest fastener distributor in the country. It's called the Jakes Company, Jaquus. And then that operation moved from the financial district in Boston down to Avon, Mass, and then subsequently to West Bridgewater. But that was a long, long time ago, and I've been with a number of different fastener distributors here in the New England area, primarily in Massachusetts. I started here at Main Source a little over a year ago. The former owner sold the company, and I was asked by the new owner to come in and manage the company. And we have been on an aggressive growth mode and trying to increase the number of customers as well as the existing business. Okay. And so far we've been, knock on wood, very successful.
Good. Okay.
Well, you're aiming for a really big 2013, and you had a pretty good 2012, if I recall correctly, from what you were telling me earlier. So to what do you attribute your success?
I find the thing that I like to do and what I'm striving to do constantly is provide customer service, fastener knowledge and expertise. I think product knowledge is premium with our customers. They need to know that the people that they're dealing with and the people that provide service to them know what they're selling, and can offer alternates and some engineering help in product design or finding form, fit, and function on comparable product that will work in their applications. My start in the business was working for a distributor, the Jakes Company, and their expertise was doing specials. And that's been my background and my focus for the whole time that I've been in the business. I've done a lot of selling direct to DOD and military, as well as OEMs from all over the country, and providing good fastener service, good pricing, and reliable and good expertise as far as fastener knowledge.
So it sounds like you're really sticking to the fundamentals, and there's not really a secret weapon at foot here. You're just putting the pedal to the metal and working hard and providing customers a good product and a good price and working at it.
Exactly. And also, being able to suggest alternates. If they have some really strange application and they're looking for something that doesn't exist, I can certainly provide it to them, be it an odd diameter, odd thread, or odd length, or even odd material. But I'm also able to suggest, first thing I say is I'm not an engineer, but by the sounds of your application, this might be a practical alternative for you. Customers appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. So speaking of then harder to find items and stuff, we see out there on FCH all the time knocking around looking for oddballs.
Exactly. I'm sort of a guru of finding those hard to find items. And not just commercial parts, but also military parts. Some of those NAS specs and MS specs, you go, where the hell did they get that one from? Yeah. And who makes it that can do it in less than a year?
Right. Yes.
And that's always that's what keeps me going, because some of this stuff can get really, really tiresome and takes the thrill is gone. But what I found with the fastener business is that it's a constant learning experience. I've come across at least once or twice a week, oh, I didn't know you could do that. I've never seen that thing before. Or, there's always something new coming up, new applications, new products even. So it's not always the same old tried and true, but then it's also trying to remember, what you've seen and where it might be practical for a particular application for the customer. Mm-hmm. Our library is probably, I've got like 10 bookcases full of catalogs, plus my computer now with PDFs.
Right.
I download constantly new applications, new catalogs, new vendors. I get into stampings, screw machine work, specialty cold heading, and then new products from specialty manufacturers. So it's constantly evolving. A fastener is not just a fastener anymore. There's particular applications, particular products for particular industries. So it's a lot of fun.
You would have seen your customer base change a bit over the years, because if you were primarily originally in supplying some of the computer companies, some of those companies would have sort of moved away from there or moved out altogether, actually, wouldn't they? I mean, that would have been dead.
Yeah, the type of company, there's still some computer folks around, but it's more specialty type computer manufacturing. Yep. We're getting into some of the smaller new product development manufacturing. The Lucents of the world, Alcatels now, the CMs that we used to service that were more domestic are now worldwide. What we're seeing, or I have seen in the past with other distributors that I've been with, are legacy applications where sourcing on the prints has been specified.
Right. Right.
And so at one point I was, because we had serviced Lucent domestically at a previous employer, we were getting requests from China, from Europe, from Mexico for particular Lucent parts. And a lot of those parts we were sourcing in China and sending them back.
Right, and they would have originally been AT&T parts, probably.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that goes way back. Or Western Electric.
Yeah.
But a lot of that though is disappearing, because especially the Chinese, they'll get that part, and they'll see it, and then they'll just make it for themselves. So that was sort of a disappearing trade. No, what we're seeing is more smaller manufacturers.
Okay.
Specifically, New England based is where our forte is. We've seen some of the smaller manufacturers either migrate south or west. In most cases, that business disappears. In some, we keep a small portion of it because our vendor name is on the prints or our part numbers. But it's the same thing as when it migrated overseas. It disappears. So what we've been doing is looking for new startups, older manufacturers that are still around here. That base is getting smaller and smaller, so we have to be more aggressive to search them out and be competitive on them.
Paul, let me ask you, what, from your perspective, are you seeing from the master distributors, the suppliers, with all the price battles that have been going on and some of the shifting in the markets? What are you seeing?
I am seeing some, more price stability, where in the past, you'd get sort of a bouncing up and down depending on the demands on the market. But in the last couple of years, the demand's been down. So I'm seeing some slight decreases. I still, the master distributors, in some areas they're high, in some areas are low compared to the competition. So it's still, you got to go out there and sort of price it based on the job. Where I've seen the biggest change sort of immediately is the merger with Busching being acquired by Lindstrom. That sort of narrowed the metrics market to a considerable degree. Those, I'd say, were the two primary players. There is another metric distributor that's sort of new, but I haven't really seen them be price competitive, but maybe that's because they don't buy as much as they would like.
Well, I know Peter listens to the show, so.
At one point, I was working for Worth, and that wasn't I knew Ben Tabor, who was in charge of setting up Worth North America as far as acquiring distributors all over the United States. So I could see that progression as it happened. But their sort of focus was more on the MRO end of the business from what I could see. And where Busching and Lindstrom were more geared to the OEM businesses. Not to say that Worth wasn't doing OEM business, but I once that whole thing settled down a little bit, I moved on.
Well, I appreciate your comments on that because, after the headline splashed about Lindstrom Busching, that was right before the Vegas show, and we were talking to people out there, and a lot of people just were it was a big yawn, nobody really had much to say about it, and we haven't really heard much feedback on that whole thing up until now, so I appreciate you chiming in on that.
Yeah, it was sort of, I sort of could see the handwriting on the wall. Busching tended to be a little bit more rigid on their pricing, where Lindstrom was a little more aggressive. And I think they were gathering more market share. And I really didn't see Busching sort of internationally looking at the United States as a big potential market, because a lot of the engineers here, it'll be metric when I die.
Yeah, right.
And it's sort of, not a big push for Americans to change over to the metric, although I'm seeing a lot more of it, especially any manufacturer that's doing overseas business. They really do have to go to metric.
So relative to the metrics, do you see people using our experiences that people seem to still use DIN numbers despite everyone encouraging
It's funny. Most of the people are still using DIN. ISO there are some differences, but they're really sort of nominal. So you really don't know what they are. It may be on head dimensions on hex head cap screws, on certain diameters, but for the most part, ISO has sort of adopted the DIN standard. The only sort of oddball I run into occasionally is the JIS, Japanese Industrial Standards.
Yep.
And you see those more on the Phillips panhead machine screws. And other than that, though, they're sort of interchangeable. The other thing that is sort of become quasi-standard is the Buschard number.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. We tried to provide cross-references to Buschard numbers, but the numbers themselves, as I found out from other people, are controlled rather carefully, and they don't really like you using their numbers except when they're selling you something.
Yeah, and each Buschard number determines what the product is and the finish,
right,
and the material.
Right, so
very
specific.
A lot more specific.
Yeah.
But the only time that I would run into that is if it was a specialty item where they demanded the specific plating, like a dacrament over a zinc and yellow.
Yep.
And with like a Plas type screw where it's a manufacturer's name as opposed to then I'd reference a BN number because then they know exactly what I'm talking about.
Right. Yeah.
The descriptions are a little bit convoluted over in Europe.
No, Joe Greenslate's not going to be happy with us, guys. He's a big ISO advocate.
Well, ISO, they're all sort of, you got to buy them. It's, the ANSI specs and the ISO specs. I know that ISO specs, it's just easier to get the DIN standards, and everybody references them, like 7985A for a Phillips panhead.
Right.
Everybody knows what it is. A DIN 912 or a DIN 913.
Right. And we have the standard set up for both DINs and ISOs, but when we check the incidence of, through Google to see what people are really searching for, the searching ratio from DIN to ISO is about 90 to 10, or even higher, 95 to 5. People using DIN numbers as opposed to ISO numbers.
Yeah, and part of that is, that's what people are used to. The ISO standards are a lot newer. It's sort of like the MS numbers and for the military standards. Thanks to our illustrious past President George Bush and the privatization of the standards, everything's been shifted to NAS. And now you got to buy the prints. And you still got a lot of people using the old MS numbers because they were free.
Thanks for bringing that up, Paul. I've been looking for a really good, solid issue to blame Bush on directly related to fasteners, so thank you.
Yeah, well, that was just one of the things.
One of many, right?
Yeah. But that whole impetus to privatize the standards, I go to the DoD Assist and look up an MS number and it says, oh, it's canceled. It's now an NAS number. Go buy it for $35. See ya. And nothing drives me further up the wall. It's ludicrous. Thank God I have an antique 3-ring binder system with all the NAS and MS and AN prints, so I've been slowly scanning those into my computer so I can pull them up.
There you go. That's got to be worth its weight in gold.
Right.
Yeah. Believe me, that is worth a fortune.
Well, speaking of going back in time, you and I were talking a while back about something that was kind of an early attempt at online fastener distribution. I mean, this is going back quite a ways, and you can fill us in, but you were involved in something called suppliermarket.com. What was that all about?
Yeah, that was my personal foray into the .com when the .com growth period was going on before the first bubble burst. It was founded by 2 graduates of Harvard Business School, and what they were trying to do was set up online reverse auctions for fasteners and screw machine parts stampings for OEMs for procurement of that type of item. What would happen would be the OEM would post a bid on their site, vendors would go onto it and they would hold a reverse auction and would be real time online at a predetermined date and time. And primarily it was fastener manufacturers or stamping houses and screw machine houses would bid online, and the cheapest price would get it. Subsequently, and actually the company at that time, when I started, I was one of the first 20 employees. A year later, we had over 200 employees.
Wow. What year was that?
Oh, God.
Roughly.
Within 5 years.
It was probably about 10 years ago,
Oh.
I'm going to say.
Okay.
The company was bought subsequently by Ariba, which is still around.
Yeah, they were just bought by SAP, actually.
Yeah, and it was folded into the Ariba software. They kept the reverse auction component, and then Supplier Market as an entity unto itself disappeared.
Yeah, absolutely. I just fired up the URL, and it's a dead link right now. But Ariba's still around. They've got a little bit of a footprint in our market, in the industrial fastener distribution world. Not
yeah,
too big.
Excuse me. They tended to be more of the MRO support, so they were sort of competing or directing MRO buys for manufacturers, in the automotive and basically nationwide OEMs and worldwide to direct their MRO buys because that's where they saw the greatest savings potential.
Right.
And then with the acquisition of Supplier Market, it opened it up to more of their OEM capability.
Got it.
And my purpose there was to set up the sort of parameters for fasteners and manufacturers being able to specify specific fasteners on the website, as well as trying to get people to go online.
Well, that would have been a bit of a problem 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the company grew very fast. The two founders did exceedingly well.
They didn't have a podcast, did they?
No. So okay, right. That was the difference.
Yeah. No. I was shocked at how fast that company grew. I'd never seen anything like it.
Oh, it's amazing what you can do with a few million in venture capital.
Right.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And every day I was there, it was just like there were like 10 new people, and the office space expanding, and then the website would get more and more sophisticated. It would become smoother operation, and then watching some of the reverse auctions right online was even more phenomenal. It had great capabilities, but a short track record. But the objective in those days was to get the biggest bang for the buck for the guys who created it. And then literally about, I'm going to say, less than 4 or 5 months after the acquisition, that whole market just collapsed. The spec bubble on the internet, just prices just fell through the floor. So I just watched it swan dive my stock price.
Were you still with the company at that point, or?
When the company was acquired by Ariba, they saw my redundancy.
Okay.
So I went back to the fastener world, and fastener distribution, which was fine with me. I'd been there, done that.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
Well, that's a great story, Paul. It's always good to hear about some of those early attempts at getting online fastener sales off the ground. We certainly have a vested interest in hearing those, but I never tire of it, so appreciate that.
Yeah, no, it was fun. It was an intriguing year. I learned a lot.
Yeah.
And
I think we're still in the infancy with a lot of this stuff. I mean, the technologies that are becoming available are going to really blow people away. What we have done so far in the industry, I don't think we've scratched the surface.
No, the Fastener Clearinghouse, I find to be a real godsend because as time goes on, more and more people know about it. The amount of inventory and the accuracy of the inventory that the suppliers put on there seems to be holding up.
Well, we're working hard at it, and we appreciate the comment, that's for sure.
Yeah. Some of the older, book suppliers, basically the day it's printed, it's obsolete. They're good sources for some stuff, but being able to go online and do a search and find out who's got what where is very attractive.
Right. Well, that's what we're shooting for.
Yeah. Makes life a lot simpler.
Now, let me ask you this, Paul, before we wrap things up. We have a little bit of a theme going on today's show, and that theme is Bonanza.
Yes. Especially
watching
relevant.
Bonanza on the Me Network.
Well, then this is going to be right down your alley. Do you feel any affinity in particular to any of the Cartwright brothers?
Oh, geez.
You could peg yourself?
Well, not as a personal clone of me, no. My favorite, though, is Haas.
Oh, isn't that funny? Okay.
I like him. Little Joe's sort of annoying.
Big time.
And then what was the other brother?
Adam.
Adam. Yeah, he's just dull.
Yeah, well, you just want to basically take him in back of the barn and beat the crap out of him. I agree. Everybody's favorite is Haas.
Well, I like Haas. He's sort of gullible and good-natured.
All right. Well, we just had to ask because, again, we're kind of dwelling on that a little bit on today's episode. Well, Paul Cabot with Main Source, how do people get in touch with you?
Well, our website is www.mainsource, SOURCENH for New Hampshire.com. Or our number is 603-883-6996. And, we'd love to hear from you.
Well, Paul, I thank you for that, and I thank you for being on with us today. I sure hope you over there at Main Source can achieve your lofty goals for the year. And it sounds like with your methodology and philosophy, that's probably going to be in the cards for you.
Well, we're going to do our best.
Good on you.
It's all we can do.
Yeah, this is true, always.
Thanks, Haas.
Okay, mate.
Oh, gee,
right.
Thanks.
Yeah, right.
We'll be right back with more Fully Threaded Radio.
2 men, 1 server, a fastener dog, and a stunning lack of more lucrative alternatives. It's Fully Threaded Radio.
Our hearts are in fasteners, so join us in the heart of the fastener industry for Fastener Tech 13. This is Nancy Rich, Fastener Tech Show Manager, inviting you to join us June 10th through 12th for an event hosted by Midwest Fastener Association and Fastener Technology International and sponsored by Fastener Industry Groups. This is an event produced by the fastener industry for the fastener industry. Its success returns to the industry through scholarships, education, and various other programs. Fastener Tech allows many fastener and fastener-related companies a great opportunity to meet with their industry and source many products in one location. The trade show will feature fastener manufacturers, heat treaters, platers, and other fastener service companies. Fastener Tech will also feature educational and industry informational seminars. You'll also have the chance to enjoy several social events. Your time at Fastener Tech will include great networking opportunities. Fastener Tech 13 will be held at the Donald E. Stevens Convention Center in Rosemont, Illinois. Be part of an event bringing American industry together. More details of this event may be found at www.fastenertech.com or at www.mwfa.net.
When top quality and outstanding service are at the top of your list in fastener suppliers, turn to Stellfast. Since 1976, Stellfast has grown to become an industry-leading importer and manufacturer of the highest quality industrial fasteners, specialty items, and automotive parts. Our array of facilities across North America and in Asia, along with full quality control labs and ISO 9001-2008 certifications, ensure the highest quality parts, and at Stellfast, they're delivered with undisputed service excellence. We're family-run and dedicated to your success. Our customers have come to depend on the expertise of our staff and the quality of our products. We also offer a wide range of secondary services to meet some of the toughest requirements you might have. Contact Stellfast today through our website at www.stellfast.com and put us to work for you. Stellfast. Service you deserve, people you trust.
fastener-focused.com. Search and source from over 500,000 line items, all just a mouse click away and available at no charge. When the need arises, you won't find a better place to locate hard-to-find fastener inventory. It's where you need to be.
This is Joe Truckee of Cal Fasteners, and Fasteners Clearinghouse works for us.
This is Robert Wanzer, and Fasteners Clearinghouse works for American Imperial.
This is Andy Pell from ScrewCrew.com, and FCH works for the fastener industry.
Join the sourcing network now and show your inventory to a whole new market. Turn slow movers into cash. List up to 10,000 line items. Show them to distributors only or to the world. FastenersClearinghouse.com. It's where you need to be.
Hi there, this is Nick Smith with Nick's Fasteners and Supply in Casper, Wyoming, and you are listening to Fully Threaded Radio, and rightly so.
Hey, we're on air.
Oh, so we are.
Surprise, surprise.
It's funny, I didn't realize that, considering I'm the one with the button. Well, Brian, I don't know. I think my mood is improving because we're in the dead of winter now, and I guess when the worst is upon us, it always makes me think that spring is not too far off, and that puts me in a good mood.
Good. It's also nice that you can only see a little smattering of snow outside, too.
Yes, I know you're not a big fan of that.
No, none at all.
You didn't have that back at the ranch.
No, we did not. Yes, the coldest we ever would have got was sometimes we'd have a frost, which was very exciting if you're a kid. We had ice on puddles.
Physics at its best.
Yeah.
Well, with spring coming, there's all sorts of fastener events coming up, and I guess you don't need us to alert you to all of them, but there are a couple that I'd like you to be aware of. One of them is the Southwest Fastener Association Spring Conference. That's happening in Tucson this year. You can get details about that at the website www.sfa-fastener.org. Mike Rodriguez is the president of the Southwest Fastener Association, and I'll be participating in the panel discussion that's happening on Friday, April 26th. Again, that's out there in Tucson. Details are available on their website, and it's actually a 4-day conference, Bri. It's Thursday through Sunday. I think the Southwest guys really like their golf, is my guess.
Well, they might like Tucson.
Absolutely. Who wouldn't?
Yeah.
Especially at that time of year. Springtime in Tucson is very, very beautiful. Another event, which sadly corresponds with that, so I'm not going to be able to attend, is an outing to the Nucor facility in Indiana, a tour, and this is being put on by the Midwest Fastener Association, the North Coast Fastener Association, and the NFDA is also sponsoring this. It's kind of one of these joint things that the NFDA has been talking about doing, but I know Marty over at the NCFA was one of the big drivers of this thing, and they're heading out on Thursday, April 25th. They're going to have a plant tour, and then I think they're going to have some kind of an event at a car museum afterwards, and it sounds like a whole lot of fun. Details for that will be found at, I'm sure, a variety of websites. One of them is mwfa.net. And if you're in the Midwest, I think this is going to draw a lot of people from all the different associations. Great networking opportunity, I think.
Right. Yeah, I would love to go to the car museum and see Nucor.
And you're not going to be able to make any of that.
No, I'm not. It's a problem.
What is it, branding season? No, we don't have to go into that.
No.
Well, just before we get to the Fastener News Report, there's an item in the news from one of our big sponsors, and that's Fastenal. This is from globalfastenernews.com, dated January 18th. You might want to take a glance at it. Kind of an interesting story. Headline is, How Fastenal Plans to Recapture Fastener Business. And a couple of interesting factoids, and I'll just read the first couple of lines here. It's Fastenal's dramatic increase in its vending program, which grew 183% in 2012, continues to make headlines.
Oh.
While basking in the glory of that initiative, Fastenal executives took time to talk about the lagging growth in the company's fastener business. This is a quote from CFO Dan Florness. He said, "When I look at what happened to our fastener business, the drop-off from 15% growth in the first quarter to 2.5% growth in the fourth quarter, I really see that as a pure indicator of the state of the economy. And it was a case of customers just purchasing less because they were producing less themselves."
Some would have a slightly different view of that, but in general, we would think that was less activity for that period too.
Well, a lot of times when you're not having the greatest quarter in the world, it kind of is a little consoling to see what the leaders are doing.
Right, this is true. And they think things aren't too hot either.
Yeah. But the story goes on and talks about some of the ways that Fastenal is strategizing to get some of that market share back, and it's a pretty good article out there on Global Fastener News. Take a look if you haven't seen it already.
I haven't seen it. I've been programming.
Don't worry, Brad. I've been taking care of all the tweets for you.
Thank you.
The Fastener News Report is brought to us today by Volt Industrial Plastics and Fastener Technology International Magazine. I'd like to thank our other sponsors on today's show, and they are Stelfast, Beacon Fasteners and Components, Trinity Hardware Headquarters, and Fastenal. And thanks to you, everybody, for listening.
Right.
You can't put on a rodeo unless someone shows up and watches and, I guess, chews tobacco in the stands, really.
Not at New Zealand rodeos, though. Okay.
Well, here's a guy who's undoubtedly not chewing any tobacco at the moment. Here's Mike McNulty.
Thanks, Eric and Brian. This is Mike McNulty from Fastener Technology International Magazine, bringing you the Fastener News Report, which is sponsored today by Volt Industrial Plastics, makers of the world's finest plastic fasteners. As we near the end of the first month of 2013, we have our matchup for Super Bowl 47, which is the 47th straight year that the Cleveland Browns have failed to qualify. It is, however, the second time that the Baltimore Ravens, a.k.a. the old Cleveland Browns, have made it to the Super Bowl, and on their way to the big game, I was pleased to see that they knocked off two Cleveland Brown villains, John Horseface Elway and Bill Cutoff Hoodie Belichick. Regardless of the outcome of the game, I will engage in my annual caloric and visual feast on Super Bowl Sunday, all the while staying focused on fasteners. Now here's today's Fastener News Report. In our top story, we're going to hear about ongoing expansion and growth at Elgin Fastener Group. In addition, we have some newsmaker headlines from the fastener trade shows in China, Alcoa Fastening Systems, Fastenal Company, Porteous Fastener Company, and Sherrick's Fastening Solutions. We also have a back page report on athletic heroes. We will get to all of that and a conversation with Tim Busching of the Elgin Fastener Group right after this.
Volt Industrial Plastics is the source for all your high-quality plastic fastener needs, and customer service is their #1 priority. With almost 1 million fasteners in stock and same-day shipping on stock items, Volt Industrial Plastics carries inventory so you don't have to. Volt manufactures everything in-house from over 125 different materials, and they're proud to say 100% of their products are American-made. And of course, custom tooling and in-house bagging is available. Contact Volt online at www.voltplastics.com. Volt Industrial Plastics, makers of the world's finest plastic fasteners.
For a selection of hundreds of thousands of fasteners, check out your local Fastenal store or fastenal.com. We can stock domestic or internationally sourced product locally and keep your bin stock filled for you at no additional expense. We are a 9001-2008 certified company that's made a huge investment in quality control so you don't have to. And if you can't find it on our shelf, we can make it for you at the quantity you need at one of our many manufacturing facilities. Learn more by contacting your local Fastenal store or visiting fastenal.com today.
Hey, Fastener people. Let's meet in the middle in Kansas City, Missouri for the All-American Fastener Show, May 8th to the 9th, 2013. This is Heidi Voltrauer, and I'm so excited to have the show in Kansas City at the Intercontinental Hotel on the Plaza. And getting there is easy. Once you catch a direct flight into Kansas City, or make the drive, you can park your car and enjoy the hotel and plaza with all of its amazing shops and restaurants right across from the hotel. We will have the golf tournament, booth setup, and of course our famous Fastener Bash on May 8th. And the show will be on the 9th starting at 9 a.m. We've also added a lunch seminar the day of the show. For all your information about the All-American Fastener Show, look at our website at allamericanfastenershow.com. Hope to see all of you in May at the All-American Fastener Show in Kansas City.
Mike McNulty.
In the last year, the Elgin Fastener Group has been acquiring companies, hiring people, expanding operations, and adding products and services while making and distributing tons of fasteners and wire form parts under well-known brand names including Ohio Rod Products, Leland Powell Fasteners, Landreth Fastener Martin, Silo Fasteners, Chandler Products, Quality Bolt and Screw, Northern Wire, and Brighton Best. To get a first-hand account of EFG's growth and expansion, we talked to Tim Busching, Vice President of Marketing at Elgin Fastener Group. Hi, Tim. Thanks for joining us on the Fastener News Report.
Hi, Mike. Good to talk with you.
Now, I don't think hardly a month goes by without some news from the Elgin Fastener Group coming out. In the last episode, you had 3 personal appointments, and in the last year, you guys acquired Quality Bolt and Screw and Northern Wire, in addition to forming an alliance with Brighton Best International.
It's been a very active year. 2012 was a very active year for us as a corporation and as a group, Mike. There's no doubt about that. And our plans going forward in 2013 are to continue on that breakneck pace.
Now, I know that you reported us that you guys had a big presence at the Fastener Show in Las Vegas, and I was wondering how that went for you guys.
We were very pleased with the show last year in Vegas. We thought for the last couple of years the Sand offers a very good venue for us. 2012 in particular, the floor traffic we thought was outstanding both days of the show. Really great attendance. We've traditionally used that show, Mike, as an opportunity for us to meet with key personnel from our distributor customers and accounts, as well as some of our key suppliers, and that certainly was the case again in 2012. I thought that our outside sales staff in particular did a very fine job of setting up meetings and appointments for us well in advance of the show, and certainly combined with the interest that was generated by our alliance with Brighton Best, which the timing on that was good for the show as well. I think that alliance was announced early in September last year, and then we had an opportunity to follow up with some promotion and education of the same thing at the show itself. So all in all, we were very pleased with the timing and then how things worked for us at the 2012 Fastener Show.
Now, on the Brighton Best Alliance, how does that work? Now, you're making fasteners for them with their labels on it? Is that how that works?
We're actually supplying specific sets of product for Brighton Best, manufactured out of our Quality Bolt and Screw facility up in Ohio, Northern Ohio. what that includes, Mike, is the grade 5 and grade 8 hex head cap screws, as well as the A325 and A490 structural bolts. The idea behind that certainly was to offer the distributor market another brand option when sourcing domestic fasteners. And those fasteners will have and do have an EFG USA head marking to distinguish them from any other Brighton Best produced product.
Okay, I misunderstood. It has your EFG mark on it instead of the Brighton Best.
It does, right. It's a specific head mark for EFG USA to signify that they are produced here in this country.
Now, in addition to your fastener and form parts manufacturing operations, I know that you guys operate a coatings factory called Best Metal Finishing, and you also do fastener engineering and offshore purchasing through your Elgin Fasteners International operation. What can you tell us about those two things?
Well, the plating operation was started specifically as a captive house, more or less, for our Ohio Rod Products division in Versailles, Indiana. The plating unit, Best Metal, was opened up about 15 miles away from the Ohio Rod plant, so very convenient. But over the years, it's grown to turn into a regional plating facility. They've broken out of the captive house category and actually have been successful in winning some business on a consistent basis from the tri-state area, which would be Indiana, Ohio, and Kentucky. So they continue to grow and strive to keep growing. As far as our Asian sourcing unit, that was developed a few years back as an option that we felt that we needed on those occasions when particularly pricing on our domestic items was not at a competitive level anymore. We realized we needed to be able to look somewhere else to see if we couldn't continue to maintain the customer base that we had by having a foreign option. And we were successful in sending a particular individual over there, gentleman by the name of Kent Carter, who actually lived in China for a period of 3 years and did a great job for us as far as setting up multiple sourcing over there and developing an engineering and sourcing office for us.
Well, it sounds like you guys, you're covering all the bases. You can provide products and services in a variety of ways to different customers depending on what they need, and that you are trying to keep them as a customer and do whatever you can for them. Do you have any plans that you can share with the listeners for 2013?
Well, I think as I mentioned earlier, we looked back at 2012 and said, boy, we accomplished an awful lot. And our intent is to continue down that same path in 2013. Certainly, we're receptive to looking at other opportunities in terms of potential acquisitions. That's an ongoing format for us to follow. We have noticed, at least through the short period of the first quarter thus far, that some of our markets, particularly those that might fall into the category of seasonal markets, have been very busy and have started off the year very strong. In specific, our lawn and garden applications are running ahead of projections at this particular point in time, and we're also seeing some nice increases in some of our appliance applications. So we feel like the year's off to a good start, and hope to be in a position where that continues throughout the balance of the year.
So if you had to make a guess, you think that 2013 will be better than 2012 by the time the end of the year rolls around?
I think we're cautiously optimistic in that regard, Mike. I would say that we do think that 2013 holds some good things in store for all of the fastener industry. So I would feel comfortable in saying that yes, we anticipate that 2013 is going to be a better year, particularly in terms of sales growth than 2012 was.
Well, it sounds good to me, and I think that we're cautiously optimistic here as well, and that's being kind of played out in what we hear from distributors and manufacturers around the country. So, I'd like to wish you luck in 2013. We look forward to getting more news from the Elgin Fastener Group, and I'd like to thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Mike. We appreciate all the coverage that you give us.
Very good. That was Tim Busching, Vice President of Marketing at Elgin Fastener Group. Next up, today's top Fastener Newsmaker headlines. The Fastener Trade Show franchise of Fastener Exhibitions in China is organizing 3 events in 2013. Their 9th show takes place in Chengdu in May, the 10th one in Guangzhou in July, and their 11th Fastener Trade Show in Suzhou in October of 2013. These events, which were started in 2008, are now attracting around 400 exhibitors and 10,000 visitors from 50 different countries. Alcoa Fastening Systems has received an award from Airbus for its performance in the Airbus Supply Chain and Quality Improvement Program. AFS was selected from 250 suppliers for its quality and delivery performances. AFS supplies fasteners to Airbus for all of their major aircraft programs, including the A320, 330, 340, 350, and 380. In other news, a local report says the China Commercial Aircraft Company has signed an agreement with Alcoa Fasteners in which they will provide technical services and fastener products for the COMAC C-19 commercial aircraft program. Fastenal Company of Winona, Minnesota, reported year-end results for 2012, in which annual sales rose by 13% to $3.1 billion, and their net income came in 17% higher at just over $420 million. During 2012, Fastenal opened 80 new stores, an increase of 3.1% over 2011, and it installed over 13,000 new industrial vending machines, an increase of over 180% versus 2011. Employment at Fastenal was basically flat in 2012. Porteous Fastener Company says that its Santa Fe Springs facility is moving a few miles away into a new building on Langwell Avenue that is larger than the old one. Their phone and fax numbers stay the same, and Porteous Fastener Company is a master fastener distributor that operates 17 distribution centers throughout the United States and Canada. And our top newsmaker headline is that Adam Pratt has become the new president of Sherrick Fastening Solutions in Tonawanda, New York. Adam has served most recently as vice president of Sherrick's, overseeing the engineering and sales department since 2004. Since being hired by Sherrick's as product manager in 2001, Pratt has helped guide Sherrick's from a blind rivet nut supplier to a full solutions provider with facilities in 3 countries and over 75 employees. Additional products include brass inserts, clinch nuts, and specialty fastening products. Finally, let's turn to the back page for a look at athletic heroes in America. What has happened to the American athletic hero? In just the last 2 weeks, we have been treated to the following nonsense. A shutout for the 2013 Baseball Hall of Fame ballot, which is now being called the steroid class, since it has many performance drug users on it. A world-class bike rider and cancer survivor, long on narcissism and short on the truth, finally confessed to years of performance-enhancing drug use and pathological lying in an interview with the self-appointed lifestyle guru and TV talk show rock star. And finally, a Heisman Trophy candidate and college championship football game star player at a top academic university revealed that his longtime girlfriend and stories of her tragic life and death during the season were all made up. Fortunately, beneath these shameful stories was news of the death of a true American sports hero. On and off the field, a guy named Stan the Man Musial of the St. Louis Cardinals. I never saw him play, and I didn't know much about him until I read some of the tributes to Stan Musial, who died last week. These stories speak for themselves, but some of the words and phrases used to describe him included humble, consistent, reliable, loyal, an untarnished icon, a pillar of the community, baseball's perfect knight, and someone who always wanted to make others happy. If you're like me and you like sports as much as you like fasteners, then I suggest reading some of these tributes to Stan Musial to help wash away the bad taste and stains of today's selfish athletes who don't know anything about being a hero or serving others. This has been Mike McNulty of Fastener Technology International, bringing you the Fastener News Report. Remember to send me your pictures, news, comments, corrections, or complaints at mcnulty@fastenertech.com.
It's fully threaded. Stick around.
Looking for package fasteners of all kinds? How about specials or unique parts that no one seems to carry? At Trinity Hardware Headquarters, we believe in parts done right, and our new catalogue is available online at trinityhardwarehq.com, featuring over 30,000 different types of fasteners available in package quantities, product kits, and assortments, including hundreds of hard-to-find parts as well as the most popular inch and metric sizes. Trinity Hardware Headquarters has locations throughout the Midwest and South, and over 400,000 square feet of warehouse space with 18 million pounds of fasteners ready to fill your requirements. Our featured products include number 3 and number 7 head plough bolts, grade 5 and grade 8 carriage bolts, hook bolts, tap bolts, and nuts and washers of all kinds, plus much more. Visit our website at www.trinityhardwarehq.com or give Trinity Hardware Headquarters a call at 888-232-1010. Trinity Hardware Headquarters, for parts done right.
This season, the House of Beacon is pleased to offer its latest collection of nice threads, the Beacon Machine Screw. Sleek and metallic, sturdy and sharp, the Beacon Machine Screw is a revolution in cutting-edge style and clean lines, offering a modern twist on classic proportions. As with all our collections, thread forming, thread cutting, high-low tapping, SEMS and sheet metal screws, the Beacon Machine Screw may also be complemented by a RoHS-compatible coat, an absolute must in Europe and all other discerning corners of the globe. Don't be the last member of your industry to use Beacon Machine Screws. Call 800-669-2658 to request a full catalogue of all our nice threads. Or have one of our highly polished representatives assist you in finding your unique size and style. And should you fail to find the piece that suits you perfectly, Beacon Fasteners will proudly tailor it to your exact specifications. Be the envy of all your competitors with stylish new Beacon Machine Screws. Beacon Fasteners and Components. Nice threads.
Hi everyone, it's Brian Musker. If you're listening to Fully Threaded, then you're no doubt aware of the FCH sourcing network found at fastenersclearinghouse.com. You've probably also heard about our legendary scrubber software that makes listing your inventory on FCH a snap. But have you heard about the new FCH SmartLink interface? With SmartLink, users of Business Edge, InSequel, and Distribution 1 have a new weapon in the war against excess inventory, because each of these platforms now links directly to the FCH scrubber system through an automated interface. The best part is that this new tool is available at no additional charge to FCH members who use Business Edge, InSequel, or Distribution 1. With SmartLink, you can keep your inventory listings up to date with the click of a button, so it's a win-win for all FCH users. The new FCH FastLink interface is really big news, and we'll be thrilled to have your company using it. Business Edge, InSequel, and Distribution 1 users should contact their software provider for details, or just call me, Brian Musker. You can reach me through the FCH website at www.fastenersclearinghouse.com. That's fasteners with an S. And the S is for scrubber.
Hi, this is Casey McIlhon from McIlhon & Associates, exhibiting at the 31st Annual Midwest Fastener Show, and I absolutely listen to Fully Threaded Radio.
Well, I'm glad to be here again today. My name is Dan Zehnder. I have the great privilege and honor to open up this session of Legends of the Industry with Mr. Ed McIlhon. Ed truly is one of the greatest legends of the industry. I've known Ed since 1987 when he and I started doing business together back in Iowa. And Ed, I just want to thank you for taking the time out of your now very busy schedule to do this interview.
Glad to be here, Dan. Glad to be here.
Well, it's really my privilege and a benefit for all of us. Ed, what we'll do is we'll ask you a few questions to give you a chance to tell us a little bit about yourself and about your history, and just keep it free flowing. And what comes to mind, we look forward to hearing the great thoughts that you have. So let me get started. Ed, how did you get into the fastener industry?
Well, I did know this question was coming, and I've told this story many times, but my dad was not only my mentor, my father of 12 children, 9 boys, 3 girls, and the founder of Iowa Industrial Products in 1960. But fortunately, for many years in my life, he was my boss. Now, when I was about 13 years old, still in grade school, he had a proposition. He said, Ed, you want to go to work this summer and make 50 cents an hour? And I said, sure. So little did I know, I went in the back of the warehouse, and a dump truck of bolts had been dumped into a pile that was probably 8 feet high, 1/2x4 square head bolt with square nut attached, rusty and seized. So for the next 10 weeks, I took everything from WD-40 to diesel fuel to and I degreased these things. I threw the bolt in one keg and I threw the nut in another. And 10 weeks later, I had 30, 40 kegs of bolts and 10 kegs of nuts. My mother made me burn the clothes that I'd been wearing. And I will tell you, it was just the filthiest event of my life. And he said, all right, there's going to be a truck here. We'll load them up. And I watched the nuts and bolts go away. And I had no idea what was going to happen. But 3 or 4 days later, they came back. And, man, they were shiny and silver. And they were in these tin kegs. They actually had newspaper lining. It looked like silver. And I unloaded the truck, and Dad said, Ed, I paid $700 for all those bolts, and I paid you $300 to strip them and take them apart. And he said, we paid another $700 to plate them. And he says, I've got them sold back to the same guy I bought them from for $7,800. Now, at that moment in 62, 63, he had me. So if there was an event but I was going to go into business anyway, but that story I never forgot it. Dad was always kind of a surplus dealer, a buy stuff low and sell it high type guy in the early days. And that's what got me started. That's what got me started to think about it.
That is fantastic. That's a great story. What is one of the most exciting moments you recall in those very early years?
Well, again, when you're, I guess I started, technically I started right then at age 13. I graduated from Northern Iowa. It took quite some time, but I did finally graduate. And Dad, he said, Ed, you're in Waterloo, Iowa. Do you want to move back to Des Moines? I said, I do, Dad, but John Deere is in Waterloo, and they're in Dubuque, and White Farm Equipment's in Charles City, and that's all right here in Northeast. So I think I'll just stay here for a couple of years. So I did, and at that time, back in these days, we were pretty much perishable tools and MRO, which means just maintenance, bolts and nuts, and drills and reamers and tools and all that stuff. But I was starting to kind of convince Dad that we needed to try to sell what I would call the production type parts. And he said, we'd never compete with the manufacturers. You just won't be able to get any orders. So I don't know, 1976 now, we've moved forward, graduated in 72. I used to go to John Deere Tractor Works once a month. Nobody'd ever see me except the tool buyer. And one day the tool buyer said, hey, Ed, I don't know if you know Bill Roth, but he's in trouble on some cap screws and stuff. Said, are you interested? And I said, oh, yeah. So long story short, I saw this guy at 3 o'clock on a Friday, and he gave me an inquiry that would absolutely choke a dinosaur. I remember one of the parts on there was a 3/8 hex nut, John Deere part number 14H812. He wanted $2 million. I didn't know there was 2 million 3/8 hex nuts in the state of Iowa, but I took the order. Obviously, he didn't take them all at once. I think we had 63,000 in stock. He says, ship those and get me the rest when you can. And I don't know, again, on a Friday, obviously, I celebrated that night. We had made the breakthrough. And that started, which I won't go into great detail, but that started our career with John Deere, and it was big.
That's excellent. That's excellent. I love stories like that.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Well, working with your dad and your brothers, some of the folks from the beginning must have really been great. In those family settings, what comes to mind from the early start of Iowa Industrial Products?
As Des Moines and Waterloo. And Dad was in Des Moines, and him and my brother Tom, my brother Matt, and me and my brother Joe were in Waterloo. Lived in Cedar Falls, but Waterloo, Cedar Falls. Well, anyway, we had opened up kind of a bigger branch, and Dad had spent a fortune in his mind, which is probably like, $2,000 on a new phone system. And he said, now, Friday night, boys, he says, we're going to test the system. They want it to be after hours when it's not a busy time. So, Ed, you and Joe stay at work. Me and John will stay here. And, if you want to have yourself a beer or something, that's fine. But we'll start a conference call about 5 o'clock and see if this system works. Well, we had more fun. Ed, yeah, Dad, he says, how's it working up there in the North 40? And I said, well, it's fine. How you doing down there in the Ponderosa? So this phone call, which took probably 3 hours and maybe a couple of cans of beer. At the end, Dad was Ben Cartwright. I was Adam. My brother Joe was Hoss, and my other brother John was Little Joe. So therefore started, and I'm telling you what, for years that became names. And the nickname of Ben stuck with my dad the rest of his life.
Well, the irony of what you just said, knowing all four of you men, you guys actually look like some of those guys too.
We do.
Well, listen, family businesses are not always a bed of roses. How was it to work with so many of the family members in one business?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's got its trials and tribulations, but Dad was always a believer. There's only one cook in the kitchen, and until he never really retired. Dad just died in 1999, and actually the same month we sold the business to Broussard, but throughout most of that time, he was just in charge. So if there was any BS going around, he would just not let it happen. If two guys, he said, this is business. You guys got issues. You settle those outside. Our job is to make money, keep our employees employed. And it was kind of he was just such a great leader. And really, even though there was 12 kids, there was only 5 in the business. We basically got along. Towards the end, Dad sort of put me in charge with the edict that, if anything didn't go right, he could always come back and correct it. But we did it. We got it done, even through the sale of the company, which is always a contentious situation. I think that at the end of the day, it was okay. And I've moved in now to another business, which maybe we'll talk about later, but family can be okay if there's only one guy in charge. And if I was ever going to, and I am writing a book with my daughter, but I would say as long as that is the governing principle, one person in charge, you can get it done.
Yeah, that's great. You're writing a book with your daughter. That's exciting.
It's called Socks. Actually, it's called No Socks. It's a picture of a sock with that circle and line through it, and the idea is you want to get in life to where you don't have to wear socks at work. I won't go any further.
Well, that's exciting. We'll look forward to seeing that out. Is there any chance I can get my hands on a free copy?
As soon as it's written, I'll sign it and send it to you.
Okay, thank you. You heard it here, folks. Well, listen, through the years of the 70s there and your early years of certainly pulling the hardware and tearing it down, you've seen a lot of changes, technology and all sorts of stuff. How have you seen the industry change, Ed?
Well, certainly, it goes back to that story I told you about at John Deere, but we've moved from it was a manufacturer who were in control to the distributors that kind of took over with the manufacturers and the importers. Lord knows the import of the thing has been probably the biggest correction and something that was probably needed. So in the early days, moving from, a Lamson Session or a Cleveland cap screw selling direct to John Deere to today where probably, I've heard outside of automotive, 92, 93% of the business goes through distribution, but So that was the change that sort of, that happened back mid-'70s to mid-'80s. And then in the 90s, and this is after the quality control and all the other stuff, what became with this VMI situation, or whatever you want to call it, to where distributors are in the manufacturer's factories. You have whatever you want to call it, Kanban, the stock to dock. Bossard had one called Smart Bin. But I think that the vendor managed inventory, and we do it. If you don't do it now, you're just not in business. And I'm not saying it's 100% of your business, but it's certainly a large part of your high volume business. And again, I think that's good. I had a guy one time at John Deere told me, McIlhon, I would really like to have you get your cardboard out of my factory. And I said, well, what do you mean, Mike? And he says, well, we have a tote program. You start putting my bolts in my totes, and then we'll just get along fine. And today I cannot tell you how many hundreds of thousands of returnable totes we have and use, and everybody's a little bit different. But I think the days when you used to ship, I remember one time this guy on the streets, I sent him 2 million nuts in the most ugliest looking wooden square keg I'd ever seen in my life. If you tried that today, you'd probably get sued. So, and I think that, of course, all of that has done nothing but improve an industry that has come a long way.
Yeah, make it certainly more efficient and streamlined. You bet.
Yeah, dunnies. They don't like dunnies. They getting rid of cardboard and steel containers and all that is expensive and cumbersome and messy, and I think that's been a great move forward.
Sure, absolutely. You have a son and a son-in-law in the industry today. That must really be something to see both those guys carrying on your legacy and your work and your dad's work, their grandfather, if you will. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's a very good point for me, and it's first of all, I have 2 sons and 2 grandsons. My oldest son, Casey, and youngest son, Riley, are in outside and inside sales. Casey's my vice president of sales. My son-in-laws are my president and my warehouse supervisor. And actually my wife, 42 years, Joey, is my vice president and probably the most important of the people I've mentioned because she's my sounding board and, of course, is very concerned about these other 4 people, too. But if you have one guy in charge, and right now that's me, and the other 4 listen and do what's needed to be done, that doesn't always mean they just are yes men, but I cannot be prouder. I can tell you I've got 36 employees. My 2 sons and son-in-laws are 4 of my best, but also the whole thing is a good deal because I'm a big believer in relationships. And the other 34 have pretty good relationships also. So,
yeah, there's no doubt about it. I remember when you and I first started working together in 1987 and 88 when there was shortage on 5/8 11 grade hex nuts. You remember then?
Yeah, I do, Dan. I do well.
And you were kind enough to place an order with me for 1 million pieces, and it was my privilege to ship you 80% of them.
yeah. I had that on time. No, but the rest came in. No, it was, I don't know. That part number, by the way, this is how bad I am. That's a John Deere part number 14H860.
Yep.
When you deal with a Deere or a Case or a Ford or, the numbers can be, staggering. I won't go into detail, but one day Dad and I took an order on a Saturday for 500,000 5/8x4 grade 5 square head wheel bolts and nuts. I mean, $500,000 of those at $47 a hundred back in 1980. That was a big deal. And, you had to have people. What we really made, I think, our most, I guess, the best decision ever was we really took care of our suppliers. You have to take care of your customers. If you don't do that, you're out of business. But we kind of took care of our suppliers. My relationship with you, Dan, and your dad and your uncle, and with some of the other manufacturers and importers, we just, because sometimes you need maybe everything they had plus more, and of course they had customers and they didn't want to go on allocation. So I just kind of think that that's what helped us the most, and that came from Dad. He said, just take care of your customers, take care of your suppliers; they're important too.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Your dad was so kind to me, and when I first started in the business in the early '80s, I can remember sitting down with him, and he asked me about myself and about my family and so forth, and he said, "Work hard, always tell the truth, and remember your employees." And that was big. Your dad was big in relationships, and you are too. You know, the acorn has not fallen far from the tree, that's for sure.
Well, he was my mentor. I miss him still dearly. Dad died in 1999, and I still talk to him 3 or 4 times a day, and I need to. And every now and then he answers also, which is important. But I had a great mom. He had a great family. We had a very close family and still do. And now the second generation, we're really doing it again with the same principles. And life's too short to make a bunch of enemies. So let's just, we wrote a mission statement because we had to for ISO, and it was work hard and make money and have fun. 3 issues: work hard, make money, have fun. So,
that's great. That's truly great. Out of all the years since transition, since '99 and so forth, is there any story that stands out here recently? It's memorable with the family, a customer, anything that in more recent years?
Well, to have 2 sons and 2 son-in-laws, and I mean, we go to football games together, we go to Canada together. We do pick on each other a little bit, and without going into detail, just in general, I'll just tell you, it's the funnest thing I do is work with my sons and my son-in-laws. I'll just tell you this story. We went to the Notre Dame Alabama game. Now, we happen to be Notre Dame fans, which, of course, that didn't work very well. But the 4 of us, went over there with the driver to be safe in our, we just had an SUV. And on the way back, the 3 of them in the back seat, and I was up in the front seat with the driver. And we talked business. So we shouldn't be talking. We should have been talking football, but they were making fun of me in the fact that I have a very antiquated cell phone. And, so we're going back and forth. And this limo driver, who is a great kid, by the way, and he's laughing with us the whole way. So Casey says, Dad, when Dad sends a text message, he has to go, 123N, 123D. And they started laughing. I went, what the hell is so funny about that? Hell, I thought everybody had to do that. And then they pointed out to me that, no, Dad, most people just go, ND. So, while that's, and in the meantime, we're covering all kinds of other issues that were not only business, but they were pretty much hilarious issues with business. So, it had to have been there, but I tell you, once I realized how bad I am at texting, I have to give my children a little bit of credit. I might even buy a new phone.
Well, you and I, Ed, are not that far apart in years, and I have that same experience with my kids. And you have the privilege of saying, yes, well, those things happen, and I expect more out of you.
It's absolutely right. So if you got that nice a phone, you should have more in sales.
That's right. Well, Ed, you really, truly are a part of a great legacy, your whole family and so forth. And what would you say you really owe your tremendous success to?
Well, first of all, I owe it to my dad. But, and I don't get hokey on religion, but I give credit to God for everything, and I don't want to go there. But I do that. I do give credit to God. Okay, but here's where it's gone now. So I've kind of, and in the book that we're writing, it's all about relationships, okay? And I think in a business, there's 4 critically key relationships, and that's between management, myself, so me and my employees, my customers, my suppliers, and then I call my others my bank, our insurance, that whole thing. And I just went to we were invited to go to a play, Warhawk, with our accounting people. And it was, they said, Ed, you guys have been with us since 1962. You're the oldest, longest living customer we've ever had at McGowan Hurst. And I said, wow. So my point, that's just our accounting crew. So you look at the employees who I tell you I love, and they will tell you the same thing. The customers, we had a joke that we call them every morning and tell them how much we love them, but basically we do. We take care of our suppliers. We pay them on time. We schedule stuff. We try not to screw around with cancellations, and then we take care of our banks and lawyers and insurance and all that. And I think that works. It's worked very well for me, and I'm not saying that's the way to go for everybody, but it works for me.
Yeah, that's, again, a credit to who you are and what you come from, the stock that you come from.
Thank you.
Any closing thoughts or comments, Ed?
Well, first of all, I do want to thank you and Eric, and just to kind of say a few words. And at 65 years old, and I plan to work till I'm at least 75, so I consider myself still a kind of a mid-range guy in the span of life. And I love the industry. So I was having a kind of a conversation the other night with a good friend. Actually, one of my I have some offices in Des Moines that I rent, and this guy's name is Doug. He came in and he said, Ed, he said, what do you enjoy most? I said, well, I don't know, faith, family, first one, wife, boom, I think children, and all that. And I said, but he said, no, I mean, just, when you're just kind of, hobbies or whatever. I said, oh, hell. I said, well, I love golf. I love to boat. I love to fish. Okay, that may sound the same, but no, I love to take a pontoon boat out with all my family, cruise around the lake, and just, I love it. So, and then I like work. And I said, so that's kind of my 4 big hobbies. He said, well, what's your favorite? I said, you know what? I think my favorite is work. And I meant that. And it's that much enjoyment to me to be able to be in a position where I can help so many people, when I can enjoy what I do. And it's not like I don't enjoy golf and boating and fishing, but when work becomes, and it kind of hit me like son of a gun, my favorite thing to do is work. So I leave you with that thought, Danny.
Well, and Ed, let me underscore that. After I touched on it briefly, when you gave me that order for the 5/8 nut, and I was in Davenport, you were in Des Moines. I came out to Des Moines to see you, and just kind of new in the business, only been in like 10 years and so forth, and you'd been in more than 20, or certainly from the time you were 13 plus. And you took me out to lunch. We got in your car, and you said, look, a couple things I want to tell you. You took me out to lunch. You shared some stories with me, and you even bought that day, which was I'd never had that experience. But my favorite Ed McIlhon story was, he says, I'm going to tell you something about myself. You said, if it's bad, I'm only going to tell you half the truth. It's only half as bad. And if it's good, I'm going to tell you it's twice as good as it really is.
That's it. That's always been the philosophy. I'm a firm believer also that if it really is bad, it'll get better. And if it's good, who cares? So in your darkest moment, the good news is that's going to improve. And you hear the stories about the glass half full or the whatever. I am a very positive person. I've had some tragedies in my life. I've lost my mom and my dad, 3 siblings and a grandson. But you know what? I go back to that thing about I don't know what the future holds, but I do know who holds the future. And it's important that I stay in good contact with him.
Yes, you're a very gracious and, yes, optimistic man, Ed. I want to thank you very much for this time. This is truly a memorable moment, and now will be kept forever. Continue to enjoy Florida. How long are you going to be down there?
Just 2 more weeks, then we got to go back for the upcoming birth of our 9th grandchild. And
well, congratulations.
Mom wants to be there, and so do. Oh yeah, and plus business is very busy, and I mean very busy. So a couple months down here, now it's time to get back there and get something done.
Yeah. By the way, I talked to your sons and your son-in-laws the other day. They do have some rusty bolts that they're waiting for you to come back and take care of.
I'm still a junk dealer. Yeah, if it hadn't been for the Fastener Quality Act, I'd probably still be doing that stuff.
Well, thank you so much, Ed. God bless you and your family, and good news on the baby.
Yeah, thanks, Danny. Okay, buddy. Love you.
Love you too, man. Thanks.
All right, we'll see you later.
We'll be back in the saddle before you can say hydrogen and brittle horseshoes, Hoss. It's fully threaded.
For a selection of hundreds of thousands of fasteners, check out your local Fastenal store or fastenal.com. We can stock domestic or internationally sourced product locally and keep your bin stock filled for you at no additional expense. We are a 9001-2008 certified company that's made a huge investment in quality control so you don't have to. And if you can't find it on our shelf, we can make it for you at the quantity you need at one of our many manufacturing facilities. Learn more by contacting your local Fastenal store or visiting fastenal.com today.
Our hearts are in fasteners, so join us in the heart of the fastener industry for Fastener Tech 13. This is Nancy Rich, Fastener Tech Show Manager, inviting you to join us June 10th through 12th for an event hosted by Midwest Fastener Association and Fastener Technology International, and sponsored by Fastener Industry Groups. This is an event produced by the fastener industry for the fastener industry. Its success returns to the industry through scholarships, education, and various other programs. Fastener Tech allows many fastener and fastener-related companies a great opportunity to meet with their industry and source many products in one location. The trade show will feature fastener manufacturers, heat treaters, platers, and other fastener service companies. Fastener Tech will also feature educational and industry informational seminars. You'll also have the chance to enjoy several social events. Your time at Fastener Tech will include great networking opportunities. Fastener Tech 13 will be held at the Donald E. Stevens Convention Center in Rosemont, Illinois. Be part of an event bringing American industry together. More details of this event may be found at www.fastenertech.com or at www.mwfa.net.
Hi, this is Hugh Hewitt for the Injured Marine Semper Fi Fund, www.semperfifund.org. Over the past 7 years, twice a year, the wonderful people who operate the Semper Fi Fund and many amazing Marines who have been the beneficiaries of the charities that have supported the Semper Fi Fund, including many thousands of individual donors, have come into my radio studio to tell their amazing stories of serving their country, of being wounded, and how the Semper Fi Fund has helped them make that transition back to recovery. Unfortunately, Bethesda and Walter Reed are full again. More and more men and women are coming back from the war injured, sometimes awfully so. We need the Semper Fi Fund to be there for these Marines and those soldiers, sailors, and airmen who served alongside of them. Please consider a gift to the Semper Fi Fund. Very low overhead, extraordinary capacity to get money where it needs to get in a hurry, and great management, including some of the senior Marines who've ever served under the flag. When you're looking for something to do that will make an impact, please check out the Semper Fi Fund. That's www.semperfifund.org, www.semperfifund.org.
Brian and Eric, your online Fastener Talk Radio brothers in thread. Fully threaded radio.
Hello, this is David Gullis with Pollen Industries, first in fasteners since 1916, with weld products, standard import products, and a large mix of specialty parts. Check out pollenusa.com for more information. And you're listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
Brian and Eric, having more fun than a barrel full of stealth-ass monkeys. Back with you.
But which color?
I think the big plastic barrel that they came in contained a multi-pack. They were all different colors, so everyone would be happy.
Thank God for that.
Well, that was another great installment by Dan Zehnder of the Legends of the Industry, and it was very interesting to hear all of the stories from Ed McIlhon about the early days and how he got started and so forth. And, I was thinking while he was describing that whole story of how they were checking the phones and how they were having some fun pretending like they were, on the Ponderosa and everything. And his dad got the nickname of Ben Cartwright, which stuck with him for life. And, you told me some stories about your dad, and it always struck me that he was kind of the archetype patrician patriarch of the ranch. He had this fantastic common sense of the rural man, but he was a very worldly guy. It always struck me. He was kind of a Ben Cartwright kind of guy.
In a way, yeah. Actually, my dad, I think, really wanted to be a doctor, but then when the Depression came, then his family couldn't afford him to go away to university, but he was, and I used to go around the farm with him in the early morning when I was a kid, actually. It was always fascinating to watch what really he had to do on a farm to run it. There's a great quote from Eisenhower, actually. He says, farming looks pretty easy when you're sitting 1,000 miles away in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, that's probably pretty appropriate even today, isn't it?
I think so, yeah.
Well, it was a great story from Ed McIlhon, and we're so grateful for him for sharing it, and to Dan Zehnder for his latest installment of Legends in the Industry. And why don't we thank our other guests on today's program as well? We kicked everything off with a visit with Paul Cabot of Main Source up there in New Hampshire. And, of course, Mike McNulty with the Fastener News Report. He spoke with Tim Busching of the Elgin Fastener Group today. Thanks to all of you.
Yep.
And thanks also to our title sponsors on today's episode, and they were Stealthfast. For service you deserve and people you trust, it's Stealthfast. And Beacon Fasteners and Components. Beacon Fasteners. Nice threads. Also sponsoring us today were Trinity Hardware Headquarters, Volt Industrial Plastics, Fastenal, and of course, Fastener Technology International Magazine. Hey, thanks to every one of you for listening to the show as well. One thing I'll say is we really appreciate the word-of-mouth support you're giving us. We see the numbers of listeners expanding just about every program now, and a lot of that has to do with you just sharing this as you're out traveling or talking with your friends and coworkers. Appreciate that so much.
Yeah, don't be frightened to forward the show to someone else you think might be interested in it.
And if there's some reason preventing you from doing that, in other words, just a small level of embarrassment perhaps, you can let us know what we're doing wrong. And we listen to all of your suggestions, and you can let us know at ftr@fullythreaded.com. We're also out there on Twitter if you want to do it more anonymously. The handle there is Fully Threaded. And, of course, as always, check out our Facebook page. That's the Facebook page for Fully Threaded. And we put some supporting links up there. You can communicate with us that way as well.
And you'll also, on the Facebook page, you'll see a picture put there by our good mate J.R. Prowl. It's very appropriate to farming in New Zealand.
Yeah, get out there and you'll see exactly what Brian's talking about. And we did receive some feedback from our last episode. Part of it was due to our discussion of wind farms and wind energy. We had mentioned the tax credits have been extended, I should say, and there's mixed feelings about that. And, that's a very contentious issue. It seems like whenever we come up with an environmental issue, global warming issue, alternative energy issue, we always get a few people that chime in on that.
Yeah, I see, just based on the news today, that there's a big kerfuffle going on in England. Apparently some English company's decided it wants to erect some 600-foot high windmills in the middle of Ireland.
Holy cow. Why would they need to be so tall?
Because apparently the wind isn't strong enough.
Huh.
You could argue maybe it's the wrong place for them, but still.
Well, maybe there's an upside to that. With the exception of the condor, most birds don't fly that high, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if the local residents, whether they're going to be paid any attention to, are that keen on having these monstrosities stuck in their backyard.
Yeah, something that tall could be seen from quite a distance. Well, this whole conversation made me remember a passage in a book that I recently completed, which is called Climate Gate, which I recommend to everybody. It's a discussion on the whole global warming issue and the whole sustainable development issue. It's by a guy by the name of Brian Sussman, who's a meteorologist from the West Coast. And he has a passage in this book that describes probably something that really shocked me, which is the impact on the native birds from these power-generating windmills. And he writes a little bit about the Altamont Pass Wind Reserve area, which is just a huge area in California. And I'm going to read a section here. This starts on page 166 of Climate Gate. He says, ever since the multitude of three-bladed rotors was installed, a significant increase in the number of dead birds in the area have been reported. In an effort to determine how to address the problem, in 2008, the most extensive study was released, a 2-year taxpayer-funded examination conducted by the Altamont Pass Avian Monitoring Team. During the study period, 1,596 rotary blade bird deaths were confirmed, including the deaths of 633 raptors. Extrapolating their data to account for all 4,500 windmills on the farm, the monitoring team claims that in 2 years, 8,247 birds died.
Huh.
I always suspected that there was some damage going on to the bird populations, but I mean, that is carnage.
Yeah. I hope the power is fed into some waiting Priuses. It'll be just nice, or whatever the car vaults, I guess.
Right. Well, the irony of it is that the environmentalists who are supporting the wind farms are the same ones who are complaining about the bird deaths, and I guess the answer is there's no nirvana when it comes to this, huh?
There's got to be one somewhere, okay? You just haven't found it.
Well, that leads me to ask the question, what would Ben Cartwright say about this, Bri?
Well,
pragmatist that he is.
Well, he'd gather his kids around the fire with the Chinese cook, and he'd tell them some story, I think.
Yeah, and I'll take that one further. I think, and Haas would probably support this one pretty well. They'd be gathering up those birds and frying them up.
Yeah.
So there's the bonanza silver lining to the windmill bird death fiasco.
Right.
And with that, we'll put episode 57 of Fully Threaded Radio in the can.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everyone.
For Brian Musker, this is Eric Dudas. Get out there and sell some screws, everyone, and we'll talk to you next time.
Fully Threaded Radio is a production of Fasteners Clearinghouse. Music provided by Audionautics.